The courthouse steps felt like concrete judgment beneath my worn dress shoes. 3 months ago, I'd walked up these same steps wearing my best suit, thinking I'd fight for what was rightfully mine. Now I was walking down them with nothing but the clothes on my back and a cell phone that held the only ammunition I had left. Sarah had played this divorce like a chess master while I fumbled around like a rookie. She'd gotten the house, the cars, the boat, even my grandfather's antique watch collection. Her lawyer had painted me as an emotionally unstable husband who couldn't handle his wife's success. The judge bought every word of it. "You look like hell, Mike," my buddy Tony said, catching up to me at the bottom of the steps. He'd been my witness, one of the few people who knew what really happened behind closed doors. I can't believe she pulled this off. I stopped walking and turned to face him. She didn't just pull it off, Tony. She orchestrated the whole damn thing. The affairs, the financial manipulation, even getting me fired from Henderson and Associates. She planned this divorce from day one. Tony's face darkened. "You mean she was setting you up the whole time?" "Think about it," I said, pulling out my phone and scrolling through old text messages. "She starts her affair with my boss 6 months before filing. She transfers money from our joint accounts to her personal ones, then claims I was hiding assets. She even recorded our arguments, editing out her own provocations to make me look like the aggressor." We walked toward the parking garage where my old Honda sat between two BMWs. The contrast wasn't lost on me. 6 months ago, I'd been driving a Mercedes. Now I was lucky to afford gas for this 20-year-old piece of junk. "So, what's your next move?" Tony asked, lighting a cigarette. "You gonna appeal?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "With what money? She got the house, the savings, and the lawyer convinced the judge I was hiding assets I don't even have. I'm broke, Tony, completely broke." But as I said those words, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. Sarah's name appeared on the screen, and for a moment I considered letting it go to voicemail. We'd been officially divorced for exactly 4 hours and 17 minutes. What could she possibly want now? "Answer it," Tony whispered. "Put it on speaker." Something in his tone made me pause. Maybe it was the look in his eyes, or maybe it was the fact that I had nothing left to lose. I slid my finger across the screen and tapped the speaker icon. "Hello? Psych, honey. I know you're probably upset right now, but I wanted to call and clear the air between us." Her voice was syrupy sweet, the same tone she'd used when she wanted something during our marriage. "I hope you understand that everything I did was necessary." Necessary? I couldn't keep the bitterness out of my voice. "You destroyed my life, Sarah. You took everything." "Oh, come on, don't be so dramatic. You'll bounce back. You always do. Besides, it's not like you didn't deserve it after the way you treated me." Tony was frantically gesturing at me, mouthing the words, "Record this," and pointing at my phone. My heart started racing as I realized what he was suggesting. I quickly navigated to the voice recorder app while keeping the call active. "How exactly did I mistreat you, Sarah? By working 60-hour weeks to pay for your shopping sprees?" She laughed, that cold, calculating laugh I'd grown to hate. "You really want to know? Fine. You want to know how easy it was to manipulate you? How simple it was to destroy your precious reputation?" I hit record and held my breath. Tony's eyes were wide, and he was nodding encouragingly. "I'm listening," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "God, you're so naive, Mike. Did you really think I just happened to fall in love with Richard? I targeted him specifically because he was your boss. It took me 3 months to seduce him, but once I did, getting you fired was child's play. A few carefully timed photos, some crocodile tears about how you were becoming abusive at home, and boom, your career was over." My hands were shaking as I held the phone. 22 years of marriage, and she was talking about destroying my life like it was a game. "And the money transfers?" I managed to ask. "Oh, that was brilliant, wasn't it? I spent months moving small amounts to accounts you didn't know about. just enough to look suspicious when my lawyer brought them up in court. The judge ate it up when I testified about how secretive you'd become about finances. Sarah, why are you telling me this? Because you can't do anything about it now, sweetie. The divorce is final, double jeopardy and all that. Plus, who would believe you? You're the unstable ex-husband who lost everything because he couldn't handle his successful wife. I am curious, though. Did you ever figure out about the recordings? What recordings? The ones I made of our fights. Well, I should say the ones I edited of our fights. Amazing what you can do with a good audio editing program. I'd provoke you until you raised your voice. Then I'd edit out everything I said. Suddenly, you sound like a raging maniac screaming at his innocent wife. I was gripping the phone so hard my knuckles were white. Tony was making frantic gestures, encouraging me to keep her talking. "How long?" I asked. "How long were you planning this?" "Since our second anniversary, if you want the truth. I married you for security, Mike, not love. You were stable, predictable, boring. Perfect husband material for a woman who needed a safety net while she figured out what she really wanted. But then I realized I could do better than just leaving you. I could take everything you had and start fresh with someone who actually excited me." The parking garage was spinning around me. 2 decades of my life reduced to a calculated financial transaction. You destroyed my reputation at work, my friendships, my family relationships.
My own brother won't speak to me because of the lies you told him. Oh, that was particularly fun. Did you know he called me after the divorce papers were filed? He was so concerned about his little brother's violent tendencies. It was almost too easy to convince him that you'd been hitting me. A few staged photos of some bruises, makeup is amazing these days, and your whole family turned against you.
Sarah, stop.
Why? This is therapeutic for me. Do you know how exhausting it was pretending to be the perfect wife for all those years? Pretending to care about your boring job, your boring friends, your boring hobbies? I deserved an Oscar for that performance. My vision was blurring with rage, but I forced myself to stay calm. She was giving me everything I needed. What about the counseling sessions? You begged me to go to marriage counseling. More evidence gathering, honey. Dr. Peterson was quite impressed with my commitment to saving our marriage. He wrote a beautiful letter to the court about how I'd tried everything to help my troubled husband. Of course, he only heard my version of events. And Richard knew about all of this? Richard? Oh, he's been a willing participant from the beginning. He's actually quite impressed with my strategic thinking. We've been planning our future together for months. Did you know we're getting married next month? In Hawaii, with the money from the sale of your grandfather's watch collection. That was the final straw. Those watches had been passed down through 4 generations of men in my family. They represented everything about honor and legacy that she'd never understood. Sarah, I hope you're happy. I am, Mike. I really am. I got everything I wanted and more. The house, the money, the respect of everyone who matters. And the best part? You can't touch any of it. I played this perfectly, and you played right into my hands. We'll see about that. Oh, please. What are you going to do? Take me to court again? With what money? Face it, Mike. You lost. I won. Game over. The line went dead, and I stared at the phone in my shaking hands. The recording showed 43 minutes and 12 seconds of the most damning confession I'd ever heard. Tony grabbed my shoulder and shook me. "Mike, tell me you got all of that." I nodded, unable to speak. My throat felt like I'd swallowed broken glass. The recording was still there. 43 minutes of Sarah systematically confessing to fraud, perjury, and conspiracy. This is it, man. This is your smoking gun. She just admitted to everything. The affair, the financial manipulation, the fake evidence. even the staged bruises. Jesus, she recorded fake domestic violence evidence. I finally found my voice. She's right about one thing, though. The divorce is final. I can't get my assets back through family court now. But you can get her for fraud, perjury, and about 6 other felonies. Mike, she just confessed to crimes. This isn't about divorce anymore. This is about criminal prosecution.
The implications began to sink in. Sarah had been so confident, so smug about her legal immunity, that she'd forgotten about criminal law. Civil immunity from double jeopardy didn't protect her from criminal charges. My phone rang again. This time it was my lawyer, David Chen. Well, former lawyer. I'd had to fire him when the money ran out. "Mike, I just heard about the final judgment. I'm sorry, man. I know this isn't what we hoped for." "David, I need to ask you something hypothetically. If someone confessed to perjury and fraud during divorce proceedings, could they be prosecuted criminally even after the divorce was finalized?" There was a long pause. "Absolutely. Civil and criminal courts are separate systems. Why do you ask?" "Because I have a recording of Sarah confessing to everything, and I mean everything." "What kind of recording?" 43 minutes of her detailing exactly how she manipulated the divorce proceedings. She admits to perjury, fraud, conspiracy, filing false police reports, and staging evidence of domestic violence. David's voice suddenly became very professional. "Mike, I need you to meet me at my office immediately. Don't talk to anyone else about this, don't post about it on social media, and whatever you do, don't let that recording out of your sight." "I can't afford to hire you again, David." "Let me worry about that. If what you're telling me is true, there are ways to make this work. Criminal prosecutors love cases this clean-cut, and civil attorneys would line up to take this on contingency. Meet me in an hour." I hung up and looked at Tony. "You want to take a ride to downtown?" "Hell yes, but first, let me buy you a drink. You look like you need one." We drove to Murphy's Bar, a dive near the courthouse where lawyers and cops hung out after particularly brutal days. The irony wasn't lost on me. 3 hours ago, I'd been one of the defeated walking out of that courthouse. Now I was walking into a bar with evidence that could send my ex-wife to prison. "2 whiskeys," Tony told the bartender. "Make 'em doubles." I stared at the amber liquid, thinking about everything Sarah had said. 22 years of marriage, and she'd been acting the entire time. Every kiss, every "I love you," every anniversary celebration had been a lie. She'd been planning my destruction since our 2nd anniversary. "I keep thinking about all the signs I missed," I said, downing half the whiskey in one gulp. The way she'd pick fights about nothing, then act like the victim. The way she always had her phone with her, even in the shower. The way she started asking detailed questions about my work, my colleagues, my schedule. "You couldn't have known," Tony said. "Sociopaths are good at what they do. They study you, learn your weaknesses, then exploit them." "But I should have seen it. I'm a forensic accountant, for Christ's sake. I detect financial fraud for a living. How did I miss it in my own marriage?" "Because you loved her."
Love makes us blind to things we'd spot in a heartbeat if we were looking at someone else's situation. The bartender, a grizzled ex-cop named Murphy, leaned over. "Couldn't help but overhear. Sounds like you got taken for a ride in divorce court." "Epic understatement," I replied. "Been there, brother. My ex took me for everything I had in '98. House, truck, half my pension. But here's the thing. Karma's a patient bitch. She got remarried 6 months later, and her new husband turned out to be a bigger con artist than she was. Last I heard, she was living in a trailer park in Nevada." "This is different," I said, pulling out my phone. "This is justice." Murphy raised an eyebrow. "What kind of justice?" Tony grinned. "The kind that comes with handcuffs and orange jumpsuits." I played about 2 minutes of the recording for Murphy, just enough to give him the gist. His weathered face broke into a smile. Holy shit, son. She really said all that? Every word. And she's getting married to my former boss next month with money from selling my grandfather's watches. Not if she's in jail, she ain't, Murphy said, refilling our glasses on the house. You just caught yourself a criminal mastermind. My phone buzzed with a text from David. Office, now. Bring the recording and any other evidence you have. I knocked back the rest of my whiskey and stood up. Time to go see the lawyer. You want me to come with you? Tony asked. No, but I need you to do something for me. I need you to make copies of this recording, multiple copies. Store them in different places. If something happens to me or my phone, I need to know this evidence is safe. You think she'd come after you? She just admitted to framing me for domestic violence and destroying my career. She's already proven she'll do anything to protect herself. David Chen's office was in one of those old downtown buildings that had seen better days. His practice was small but respected, specializing in complex civil litigation. He was waiting for me in his conference room with a yellow legal pad and a digital recorder. Before we start, I need to know, was she aware she was being recorded? No. She called me, I put her on speaker, and she just started confessing. It was like she needed to gloat. Perfect. California is a two-party consent state, but there are exceptions for recording someone confessing to crimes. Play it from the beginning. I started the recording, and David's expression changed from professional interest to absolute amazement. He was taking notes frantically, occasionally asking me to pause so he could catch up. Mike, do you understand what you have here? A confession? You have evidence of conspiracy, fraud, perjury, filing false police reports, theft, and potentially racketeering if we can prove she and Richard planned this together. This isn't just about getting your money back. This is about sending her to prison for a very long time. What's the next step? We take this to the district attorney's office tomorrow morning.
But first, we need to document everything. Every lie she told in court, every piece of forged evidence, every fraudulent financial transaction. We're going to build a case that's so airtight, her only option will be a plea bargain. And my assets? If she's convicted of fraud in obtaining them, they'll be subject to criminal forfeiture. Plus, we can file civil suits for damages. Mike, if this goes the way I think it will, you're not just getting your stuff back, you're getting justice for what she put you through. I sat back in the leather chair, feeling something I hadn't experienced in months: hope. There's one more thing, I said. She mentioned that she and Richard are getting married next month in Hawaii. If we're going to arrest her, we need to do it before she leaves the country. David's eyes lit up. Even better. Flight risk makes her a candidate for detention without bail. How much time do we have? She said next month. I don't know the exact date. We'll find out. Mike, I want you to go home, get some rest, and don't contact Sarah or anyone associated with her. Tomorrow morning, we're going to the DA's office, and by tomorrow night, your ex-wife is going to be in a very different kind of trouble than she's ever imagined. The next morning, I met David at the district attorney's office downtown. Assistant DA Rebecca Martinez had agreed to see us on short notice after David gave her a brief overview of what we had. Martinez was younger than I'd expected, maybe early 30s, but her reputation for prosecuting white-collar crime was legendary. She'd put away 3 city councilmen and a bank president in the past 2 years alone. Mr. Patterson, I understand you have some interesting evidence regarding your recent divorce proceedings, she said, settling into her chair across from us. That's one way to put it, I replied, placing my phone on the table. I have a recording of my ex-wife confessing to multiple felonies she committed during our divorce. May I hear it? I played the entire recording. Martinez's expression remained neutral for the first few minutes. Then her eyebrows began to rise. By the halfway point, she was taking notes. By the end, she was shaking her head in disbelief. In 20 years of prosecution, I've never heard anything quite like this. She literally confessed to everything?
Every detail, the affair, the financial manipulation, the fake domestic violence evidence, even the edited audio recordings. Martinez leaned forward. "Mr. Patterson, I want to be very clear about something. This recording is admissible evidence of criminal activity. If we proceed with prosecution, your ex-wife could face significant prison time. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about the past year of my life. The humiliation in court, the loss of my job, the destruction of my relationships with family and friends. The nights I'd spent in my studio apartment, wondering if I'd ever recover from what she'd done to me. She destroyed my life methodically and deliberately. She planned it for years. Yes, I'm prepared. Good, because I'm going to prosecute this case to the fullest extent of the law. David, I'll need you to prepare a detailed timeline of events with supporting documentation. Mr. Patterson, I'll need you to gather any evidence you have, bank records, emails, text messages, anything that corroborates what she said on this recording. What about Richard Henderson, my former boss? I asked. She said he was a willing participant. If we can prove conspiracy, he'll be charged as a co-defendant. Corporate executives make excellent examples in fraud cases. We spent the next 3 hours going through everything. Martinez assigned a detective to the case and scheduled a meeting with the FBI's white-collar crime unit. Apparently, using interstate commerce to commit fraud, like transferring money between banks in different states, made this a federal case. "How long before she's arrested?" I asked as we prepared to leave. "We'll have warrants by the end of the week. I want to move quickly before she gets suspicious. Do you know when she's planning to leave for Hawaii? I can find out. She's been posting about the wedding on social media." "Perfect. Check her Facebook, Instagram, whatever she uses. If she's planning to leave the country, we need to know immediately." I drove home to my dingy studio apartment, still barely believing what was happening. 12 hours ago, I'd been the broken ex-husband with nothing. Now I was the key witness in a major fraud case. I opened my laptop and logged into Facebook. Sarah's profile was public. She'd always been an attention seeker. Her most recent post was from 6 hours ago. 3 weeks until paradise. Can't wait to marry my soulmate in Maui. Hashtag new beginnings, love wins, Hawaii wedding. 3 weeks. Martinez would have her in custody long before then. I scrolled through more of her posts. Pictures of her in the house that used to be mine, wearing jewelry I'd bought her, standing next to the Mercedes that had been in my name. The comments were nauseating. Dozens of friends congratulating her on her fresh start and telling her how much she deserved happiness. If they only knew. My phone rang. It was my brother Jake, who hadn't spoken to me since the divorce. "Mike? Hey, Jake. I saw Mom yesterday. She said you've been having a rough time since the divorce." "You could say that. Look, I know we haven't talked since everything happened with Sarah, but I've been thinking, maybe I was too quick to judge. Maybe I should have heard your side of things." I closed my eyes. Jake had been my best friend before Sarah's lies poisoned him against me. "Jake, what changed your mind?" "Sarah called me last night. She was drunk, I think. And she said some things that didn't add up. She kept talking about how easy it had been to fool everyone, how she'd played the perfect victim. It made me uncomfortable. What exactly did she say? She said she'd been smarter than everyone gave her credit for. That she'd gotten everything she deserved and more. Then she started laughing about how gullible you were, how you never saw it coming. Mike, I'm starting to think I made a mistake. Jake, I need to tell you something, but I need you to keep it between us for now. What is it? Sarah confessed to everything. I have it on recording. She's going to be arrested for fraud and perjury. There was a long silence. Are you serious? Dead serious. She called me yesterday to gloat, and she ended up confessing to crimes. The DA is filing charges this week. Jesus Christ, Mike. I'm so sorry. I should have believed you. I should have known you'd never hurt anyone. It's okay, Jake. She fooled everyone, including me. The important thing is that the truth is finally coming out. What can I do to help? Just be my brother again. I've missed you. I've missed you too, man. And Mike,
I hope they throw the book at her. After I hung up, I felt lighter than I had in months. My brother was back, Sarah was going to face justice, and maybe, just maybe, I could rebuild my life. But first, there was something I needed to do. I pulled out my laptop and began typing an email to my former colleagues at Henderson & Associates. It was time to let them know the truth about why I'd been fired. The email was simple. I know you've all heard rumors about my departure from the firm. Soon, you'll learn the truth. Richard Henderson and Sarah Patterson conspired to destroy my career and reputation. They will both face criminal charges for their actions. I hope you'll reserve judgment until all the facts come out. I hit send and immediately felt better. Let them think about that for a while. My phone buzzed with a text from David. Martinez wants to meet tomorrow at 9 a.m. She's expediting the warrants. This is moving fast. I texted back. Sarah's wedding is in 3 weeks. She posted about it on Facebook. Perfect. She won't make it to the airport. That evening, I called my parents for the first time in months. They'd been distant since the divorce, not because they believed Sarah's lies, but because they didn't know what to believe. Michael? My mother's voice was hesitant. Hi, Mom. Oh, honey, it's so good to hear from you. Your father and I have been so worried. I'm okay, Mom. Better than okay, actually. I have some news. Good news, I hope? Very good news. Sarah is going to be arrested for fraud. She confessed to everything. The lies, the manipulation, all of it. Are you certain? I have her confession on recording. She's going to prison, Mom. My mother started crying. I knew it. I knew something wasn't right about that woman. She was too perfect, too sweet. Nobody's that nice all the time. She was acting, Mom. For 22 years she was acting. What happens now? Now we wait for justice, and I try to rebuild my life. You can always come home, Michael. Your room is still exactly the way you left it. Thanks, Mom. I might take you up on that. As I hung up, I realized something had changed in me.
The anger was still there, but it was focused now, purposeful. Sarah had tried to destroy me, but she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd gotten cocky. Her need to gloat had given me the weapon I needed to fight back. Tomorrow, the wheels of justice would start turning. By next week, Sarah would be in handcuffs. And for the first time in months, I was going to sleep well. The next morning, Martinez's office was buzzing with activity. 2 FBI agents had joined our team, Agent Sarah Collins and Agent Mark Rodriguez from the White Collar Crime Unit. The irony of the first agent sharing my ex-wife's name wasn't lost on me. Mr. Patterson, we've reviewed your recording multiple times, Agent Collins said. This is one of the most comprehensive confessions we've ever encountered in a fraud case. We're prepared to execute search warrants today. Today? I asked. We don't want to give her time to destroy evidence or flee, Agent Rodriguez explained. We'll be searching her residence, her workplace, and any vehicles registered to her. We're also freezing her bank accounts pending the outcome of the investigation. Martinez spread out a series of documents across the conference table. We've identified 17 separate criminal acts based on her confession. The charges will include conspiracy, fraud, perjury, filing false police reports, theft, and identity theft. If convicted on all counts, she's looking at 15 to 20 years in federal prison. What about Richard Henderson? We're executing a search warrant at Henderson & Associates this afternoon. If we can prove he knowingly participated in the conspiracy, he'll face the same charges. Agent Collins pulled out a tablet. We've been monitoring Sarah's social media and electronic communications. She's been quite active, posting about her upcoming wedding and her new life. She has no idea what's coming. We need you to stay away from her and anyone associated with her, Martinez warned. Don't contact her, don't respond if she contacts you, and definitely don't go near her residence or workplace. You're the key witness in this case, and we can't have any actions that might be construed as harassment or intimidation. What about my belongings? She has things that belong to my grandfather, family heirlooms that have been in my family for generations. If we can prove they were fraudulently obtained, they'll be returned to you through the asset forfeiture process, Agent Rodriguez said. But that comes after the criminal case is resolved. I spent the next hour reviewing my testimony and going through the timeline of events. They wanted every detail documented, every lie cataloged, every piece of evidence preserved. One more thing, Martinez said as we wrapped up. We're going to recommend that you speak with a counselor or therapist. What Sarah did to you was psychological abuse on a massive scale. You're going to need support as this case moves forward. I'm fine, I said automatically. No, you're not, Agent Collins said gently.
Nobody would be fine after what she put you through. This kind of systematic manipulation leaves scars. Please consider getting help. I left the DA's office feeling surreal. In less than 24 hours, Sarah would be in custody. The woman who had systematically destroyed my life would be facing justice. I drove to Tony's house to update him on the situation. He was in his garage working on his motorcycle when I pulled up. "How'd it go?" he asked, wiping his hands on a rag. "She's getting arrested tomorrow. FBI is involved. They're calling it one of the most comprehensive fraud cases they've ever seen." Tony whistled low. "Damn, Mike, she really stepped in it, didn't she? 15 to 20 years if convicted on all counts. Good, she deserves every minute of it." He paused, studying my face. "You don't look happy, though. I thought you'd be celebrating." "I should be, but I keep thinking about the 22 years I wasted with her. All those memories, all those experiences, they were all lies. She was planning to destroy me since our 2nd anniversary. That's not your fault, man. You loved her. You trusted her. That's what normal people do in marriages. But I should have seen the signs. I'm trained to detect deception, Tony. It's what I do for a living. It's different when it's personal. When someone you love is lying to you, your brain doesn't want to see it. It's protective." My phone rang. It was Jake. "Mike, I need to tell you something. Sarah called me about an hour ago." "What did she say?" "She was panicking. She said she'd made a mistake, that she'd said too much yesterday when she called you. She wanted to know if you'd contacted any lawyers or if you were planning to cause trouble for her." "What did you tell her?" "I told her I hadn't talked to you and that I didn't know what she was talking about. But Mike, she sounded scared, really scared." "She should be. She's getting arrested tomorrow." "She also said something weird. She said if anything happened to her, I should know that Richard Henderson was the one who came up with the whole plan. She said he was the mastermind, not her." I felt a chill run down my spine. She's already trying to set up her defense. She's going to claim she was manipulated by Richard. Is that possible? Maybe, but it doesn't matter. She still committed the crimes. She still destroyed my life. She still lied under oath. After I hung up, I called Martinez and left a voicemail about Sarah's call to Jake. If she was starting to panic, she might do something desperate. That evening, I sat in my studio apartment, staring at the walls. Tomorrow, everything would change. Sarah would be in jail, and I'd have to figure out how to rebuild my life from scratch. I pulled out my laptop and began researching therapists in the area. Agent Collins had been right. I needed help processing what had happened to me. 22 years of psychological manipulation doesn't just disappear overnight. As I was browsing therapist profiles, my phone rang. It was an unknown number.
"Hello? Mike, it's Sarah. Please don't hang up." My heart started racing. I wasn't supposed to talk to her, but this might be important evidence. "What do you want, Sarah?" "I need to see you. There are things I need to explain, things I didn't tell you yesterday." "We don't have anything to discuss." "Please, Mike, I know you're angry, but I can make this right. I can give you back everything I took. The house, the money, your grandfather's watches, all of it. Why would you do that? Because I realize now that I went too far. I let my emotions cloud my judgment. Richard convinced me that you were a threat to our future, that we needed to neutralize you completely. But I see now that we could have just gotten divorced normally. Sarah, nothing you say is going to change anything. Mike, I'm scared. I think Richard is planning to hurt me. He's been saying that I'm a liability, that I know too much about his other business dealings. I need your help. Call the police if you're in danger. I can't. You don't understand. Richard has connections everywhere. He's not just cheating on his wife. He's been embezzling from client accounts for years. He's been using me to launder money through fake real estate transactions. If I go to the police, he'll kill me. My blood ran cold. If Sarah was telling the truth, this case was much bigger than we'd realized. Sarah, where are you right now? I'm at a hotel, the Marriott on 5th Street, room 247. Mike, please, I know I don't deserve your help, but I'm begging you. I'll give you everything back. I'll confess to everything publicly. I'll do whatever you want. Sarah, I can't. He's here. Oh God, he's here. He's knocking on my door. Mike, if something happens to me, make sure they know that Richard Henderson killed me. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, my hands shaking. Was this another manipulation, another lie designed to make me feel sorry for her? Or was she really in danger? I called Martinez's emergency number and left a detailed message about Sarah's call. Then I called 911 and reported a possible domestic disturbance at the Marriott. As I sat in my apartment waiting for news, I realized that tomorrow's arrest might be too late. If Sarah was telling the truth about Richard, she might not live to see justice served. The call came at 2:47 a.m. It was Agent Collins. Mr. Patterson, we need you to come to the Marriott Hotel immediately. There's been an incident involving your ex-wife. Is she alive? She's been hospitalized. Can you get here in 20 minutes? I threw on clothes and drove through the empty streets, my mind racing. The hotel was surrounded by police cars, ambulances, and FBI vehicles. The entire 4th floor had been cordoned off. Agent Collins met me in the lobby. She's alive, but she's in critical condition. She was beaten severely. We found Richard Henderson's body in the hotel room. He's dead. Single gunshot wound to the head. Looks like murder-suicide gone wrong.
Sarah managed to get the gun away from him, but not before he nearly killed her. We rode the elevator to the 4th floor in silence. The hallway was crawling with crime scene technicians, photographing everything, collecting evidence. What exactly happened? I asked. Based on preliminary evidence, Henderson came to her room around midnight. There are signs of a struggle. She was beaten with a lamp base, suffered a concussion and several broken ribs. At some point during the attack, she got hold of his service weapon and shot him. Service weapon? Henderson was a reserve deputy sheriff. That's how he had so many law enforcement connections. It's also how he was able to manipulate evidence in your case. Agent Rodriguez appeared from down the hall. Mike, we need to talk to you about that phone call. Sarah's been conscious for brief periods, and she's been asking for you. She wants to see me? She says she has information about other victims. Apparently, you weren't Henderson's first target. She claims he's been running this same scam for years, seducing married women, helping them destroy their husbands in divorce court, then splitting the assets. We walked to Henderson's hotel room, which had been converted into a temporary command center. Agent Collins spread out several files on the bed. We've identified at least 6 other cases over the past 8 years that follow the same pattern. Wealthy married men suddenly facing divorce proceedings with suspicious circumstances. All represented by different lawyers, but all involving women who had affairs with Richard Henderson. 6 other men went through what I did? 3 of them committed suicide, Agent Rodriguez said grimly.
2 others disappeared completely. We think they may have left the country. One declared bankruptcy and moved back in with his elderly parents. I felt sick. And nobody connected Henderson to all of this? He was careful. Different law firms, different jurisdictions, different timelines. The pattern only becomes obvious when you know what to look for. What about Sarah? Was she involved in the other cases? That's what we need to find out. She claims Henderson recruited her specifically for your case because she was already married to you. The others were women he seduced who were already looking for ways out of their marriages. My phone buzzed with a text from David Chen. Heard about the hotel incident. Are you okay? Call me when you can. Agent Collins looked up from her files. There's something else, Mike. We found evidence in Henderson's hotel room and vehicle that suggests he was planning to kill Sarah and make it look like a suicide. There was a typed suicide note on his laptop, confessing to the divorce fraud and expressing remorse for destroying your life. He was going to frame her for everything? And eliminate the only witness who could connect him to the other cases. Sarah saved her own life by fighting back. We were interrupted by a doctor from the hospital. Agents?
Patterson is awake and coherent. She's asking to speak with her ex-husband. The drive to the hospital felt surreal. 4 hours ago, I'd been preparing to watch Sarah get arrested. Now she was fighting for her life in an ICU, and the man who'd destroyed my career was dead. Sarah looked terrible. Her face was swollen beyond recognition. Her left arm was in a cast, and she had tubes and wires connected to various machines. But her eyes were alert when I walked into the room. "Mike," she whispered through split lips, "I'm so sorry." I stood at the foot of her bed, not sure what to say. Part of me felt vindicated seeing her like this. Part of me felt terrible for feeling vindicated. The FBI says you have information about other victims. Richard made me help him research you. He had files on dozens of men, wealthy, successful, with assets worth stealing. He called it asset harvesting. How many others, Sarah? At least 20 that I know of, maybe more. He's been doing this for over a decade. And you helped him? Tears ran down her bruised cheeks. Not at first. He seduced me, just like he seduced the others. But then he showed me how much money we could make if we played it smart. He said you were cold and controlling, that you didn't deserve what you had. Sarah, I need to know, was any of our marriage real? The first few years were. I did love you, Mike. But Richard was exciting, dangerous. He made me feel alive in ways you never did. And when he showed me how we could take everything and start fresh, I convinced myself you deserved it. What about the other women? Did they know about the scheme? Some did. Others thought they were just having affairs. Richard was careful about who he recruited as full partners. He only chose women who were already angry at their husbands. Agent Collins entered the room with a digital recorder. "Sarah, we need you to make a formal statement about Richard Henderson's operation. Are you willing to cooperate fully?" "Yes, I'll tell you everything, but I want immunity for my cooperation." "That's not my decision to make, but your cooperation will be taken into consideration during sentencing." "Mike," Sarah said, turning back to me, "I know you probably hate me, but I need you to know that I regret everything. Not just because I got caught, but because I destroyed something good. You were a good husband, and I threw it away for money and excitement." "Sarah, why are you telling me this now?" "Because Richard tried to kill me tonight. Because I realized that everything he told me about you was a lie designed to make me hate you. And because you're the only person who might actually listen to what I have to say." I looked at her broken face and realized something surprising. I didn't hate her anymore. I felt sorry for her. She'd been manipulated, just like I had, only she'd chosen to participate in the manipulation. "I'll testify truthfully about what you tell the FBI," I said. If you're really sorry, if you really want to make this right, then help them catch whoever else was involved in this scheme. There are more people involved. Richard had connections in the court system, in law enforcement, even in the banks. This wasn't just about divorce fraud, Mike. It was a whole network. Agent Collins leaned forward. What kind of network? Money laundering, evidence tampering, witness intimidation. Richard had judges in his pocket, court clerks who would alter records, cops who would file false reports. The divorce scam was just one part of a much bigger operation. The implications hit me like a truck. This wasn't just about my failed marriage. This was about systemic corruption, about a criminal enterprise that had been operating under everyone's noses for years. Sarah, I need names. I need details. If you really want to make this right, you need to expose everyone involved. I will. I'll tell them everything. But Mike, can you ever forgive me? I thought about it for a long moment. I don't know, but I can try to understand. And maybe that's enough for now. As I left the hospital, Agent Collins walked me to my car. This case just became a lot bigger than divorce fraud. We're looking at racketeering charges, conspiracy, corruption of public officials. Sarah's cooperation could expose one of the largest white-collar crime rings in the state's history. What happens to me now? You get your life back, and you help us make sure this never happens to anyone else. 6 months later, I stood in the courthouse where my divorce had been finalized, but this time I was there as a witness for the prosecution. The federal trial of United States v. Henderson Criminal Enterprise had made headlines across the country. The courtroom was packed with victims, family members, reporters, and law enforcement officials. Sarah sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit, her face still showing faint scars from the beating Henderson had given her. She'd pled guilty to conspiracy and fraud charges in exchange for her cooperation. "Mr. Patterson, please state your name for the record," the prosecutor said. "Michael Patterson." "And how do you know the defendant?" "She's my ex-wife." Over the next 3 hours, I testified about everything: the manipulated divorce proceedings, Sarah's recorded confession, and the systematic destruction of my life and career. The jury listened intently as I described how Henderson and Sarah had planned my downfall for over a year. But the most powerful moment came when I testified about the other victims. 3 of the widows whose husbands had committed suicide sat in the front row, finally understanding what had really happened to their families. "Mr. Patterson," the defense attorney said during cross-examination, "isn't it true that you bear some responsibility for the breakdown of your marriage?" "No marriage is perfect," I replied, "but I never committed fraud, perjury, or conspiracy. I never staged evidence or manipulated court proceedings."
I was a faithful husband who worked hard to provide for his family. But you were controlling, weren't you? Emotionally distant? According to my ex-wife's testimony today, those were lies she told to justify her actions. She's admitted under oath that I was never abusive or controlling. The defense attorney looked frustrated. Sarah's cooperation had made defending her nearly impossible. When the trial ended 2 weeks later, Sarah was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. It could have been 20, but her cooperation had helped prosecutors identify and arrest 12 other members of Henderson's criminal network, including 2 judges, a court clerk, and 5 law enforcement officers. The civil lawsuits were still ongoing, but my lawyers were confident I'd recover most of my stolen assets plus damages. More importantly, I'd gotten something back that was worth more than money: my reputation. Henderson and Associates had collapsed within days of Richard's death and the exposure of the corruption scheme. My former colleagues who had shunned me after my firing were now calling to apologize and offer job opportunities. I'd started my own forensic accounting firm, specializing in divorce fraud cases. The irony wasn't lost on me. My personal destruction had given me expertise in an area where I could help other victims.
My brother Jake and I were closer than ever. My parents had welcomed me back with open arms. I'd even started dating again, a teacher named Linda who knew my whole story and didn't judge me for it. But the real victory came 4 months after the trial, when I received a letter from one of the other victims' widows. "Dear Mr. Patterson," it read, "thank you for having the courage to come forward. Because of your testimony, I finally understand that my husband didn't kill himself because he was guilty of the things she accused him of. He killed himself because he was innocent and couldn't prove it. Your bravery gave my family closure we never thought we'd have." I kept that letter framed on my office desk, a reminder that sometimes justice takes time, but it always finds a way. The day Sarah was released from prison, she called me. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Mike, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know that I've spent the last 8 years thinking about what I did to you. I've been in therapy, I've done the work to understand why I made the choices I made." "What do you want, Sarah?" "Nothing. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, and I meant it. You deserved better than what I put you through." "Yes, I did." "Are you happy now?" I looked around my office, my own office, with my name on the door. I thought about Linda, who was making dinner for us that evening. I thought about the relationships I'd rebuilt and the victims I'd helped. "Yes, Sarah, I am happy. Finally." "Good. That's what you deserve." After I hung up, I realized something profound had shifted. For years, even after her conviction, I'd carried anger and resentment. But sitting in my successful practice, surrounded by evidence of the life I'd rebuilt, I felt something I'd never expected: peace. Sarah had tried to destroy me, but she'd actually given me something valuable: the knowledge that I was stronger than I'd ever imagined. That I could survive betrayal, loss, and humiliation and come out the other side as a better person. That evening, Linda and I had dinner at the restaurant where we'd had our first date. As we talked about our plans for the weekend, I reflected on how different my life was now compared to 5 years ago. "You're quiet tonight," Linda observed. "Everything okay?" "Sarah called me today." "How do you feel about that?" "Honestly, I feel sorry for her. She spent 8 years in prison, lost everything, and for what? Money that's all gone now. A relationship with a man who tried to kill her. She threw away 22 years of marriage for something that was never real." "Do you regret fighting back, turning in the recording?" "Never. She needed to face consequences for what she did. But more importantly, other people needed to know the truth. 3 men died because of that scheme. Families were destroyed. Someone had to stop it." "I'm proud of you," Linda said, reaching across the table to take my hand. "You could have just taken your settlement money and walked away. Instead, you helped bring down a criminal network." As we walked out of the restaurant, I thought about the journey that had brought me to this moment. The courthouse steps where I'd felt my lowest. The bar where I'd discovered hope. The hotel room where everything had changed. I'd lost a marriage, but I'd gained something more valuable: the knowledge that I could overcome anything. That truth, justice, and persistence could triumph over deception and manipulation. Most importantly, I'd learned that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you can become the foundation for the best thing that happens to you. My phone buzzed with a text from a potential new client. "Mr. Patterson, I think my wife is planning to divorce me and take everything. I've heard you're the person who can help. Can we meet?" I smiled and texted back, "Yes, we can definitely meet. And don't worry, the truth always wins in the end."